I'm Carola, and today I want to talk about sun salutations with you because I think it gets practiced a lot and it gets taught a lot in classes, but then it's always taken for granted that people know what they're doing, that they know the alignment and everything, and I think it's not always the case, and it's important to mention some alignment cues that make the practice safer and more enjoyable. So, sun salutations, traditionally they're practiced in reference to the life-giving energy of the sun and in gratitude and honor of all the energy between heaven and earth as we reach up to the sky and we fall down to the earth as well. Also, it's meant to link the breath, the body and the mind, which is very important, especially if you're going into a vinyasa flow afterwards or something like that. Sun salutations get practiced often as a warm-up, although I feel like you shouldn't be jumping totally cold into a sun salutation because it's already dynamic, so you have a risk of injury. And there's if you practice chaturanga, for example, for Ashtanga vinyasa or vinyasa flow, there is a lot of pressure on the shoulders, on the wrists, on the elbows, so you shouldn't really do that cold. So I recommend get the circulation going first, do some, I don't know, run around the block or do some jumping jacks, do some core work, whatever gets you warmed up. And yeah, some joint mobilization would be good as well. So you want to move your wrists, move your shoulders, do a little bit of stretching, whatever you need to start, because there is some potentially intense poses in there depending on your level, and yeah, you don't want to start cold. So yeah, I'm gonna show you through some sun salutations. So there's different variations of them, and I'm gonna give you alignment cues to all of them. So we're gonna start in Tadasana. First of all, there's another pose that gets mentioned a lot as well, which is Samastiti, and people are sometimes not sure if it's the same or what's the difference. It is actually the same, externally at least. Tadasana is kind of invoking Samastiti. Samastiti just means equal standing with attention, and that's what you get if you do Tadasana right and with concentration. So we start with our feet, the big toes touching, the second and third toe facing forward parallel to each other, which makes the outside edges of your feet coming almost parallel to the outside edges of your mat. And then from there, we're going to lift all 10 toes up, spread them wide, and then bring them down back onto the mat one by one. And then you can close your eyes for a moment and just rock forward and backward a little bit, finding the distribution of your weight equally to the front and the back. Feeling the balls of the feet connected to the mat equally as the heels connect as well. And then the same left and right. So you're distributing the weight equally on each foot. And once you have the balance, you should feel the weight distributed equally into all four corners of the feet. Then we're going to lift the arches up. So you want to slightly lift the inner ankles up to lift the arches, the inner parts of the feet up. This might already activate your thighs and your inner thighs. Otherwise, you engage the thighs, pulling the kneecap up. If you're hyper flexible, make sure you're not pushing the knees through to the back, so keep a little micro bend. And then we're going to try to neutralize the lower back in the pelvis area. So bring one hand onto your lower belly and one onto your sacrum behind your back, and just play a little bit with tilting the hip back and forwards. Feeling the position of your pelvis and of your lower back. And eventually you want to find a neutral position where you slightly tuck the tailbone in or lengthen the tailbone down towards the mat and slightly lift the pubic bone towards the navel, which should already engage the lower core a little bit. So the pelvis and the lower back are neutral. The core is already engaged. You want to imagine a lifting energy starting from the inside of your feet, from the arches, going up your inner thighs, the core, the upper body, through your neck and up the crown, so you feel lengthened and lifted, engaged. The shoulders roll up, back and down, and the shoulder blades want to go close to the back, onto the back. The palms are facing forward, and the sternum goes forward, upward, without pushing the lower ribs out. So the ribs stay in, core is engaged, and the sternum lifts up. The crown of the head connects upwards. And then you soften your eyes, gazing straight ahead. This is Tadasana, or in concentration, attention, Samasthiti. Then to start the sun salutations, we come to the front of our mat. In Tadasana. And on an inhale, we bring the arms up overhead. Shoulders stay away from the ears. Exhale, fold forward, keeping the back straight as much as possible, especially when you start the first fold. Just keep a little bend in your knees to make sure you don't have pressure on your lower back. And then you fold down. At the very beginning, you can also relax into this pose if you want to stay here for a little bit. And just rest the belly onto the thighs. The head is relaxed, the neck is relaxed. And after the fold, on the exhale, we inhale, come halfway up, lengthen the spine. So you want to be like a table where you could place something on top, really straight. And then on exhale, you bend the knees again, bring the hands onto the mat, step your right foot back, and bring the right knee down into Ashwasana. So that's the classic Hatha Yoga Sun Salutations, equestrian pose. And here you want to open the chest again, keep the ribs in, but bring the sternum upward, forward, shoulders away from the ears. In this case, you may even have the knee a little bit over the ankle, as long as you don't have any pressure on your knee and the fingertips still on the mat. It's allowed. The right foot goes down flat. And you can look up, but don't throw your head back so you compress your neck. And on the next exhale, you just put the hands down onto the mat, fingers widespread, tuck the toes of the right foot and step back into plank. So some alignment cues to plank. You want to have the wrist underneath your shoulder and push into the mat, pushing your shoulder weight. And we don't want to collapse in the shoulders. The middle fingers are facing forward and the thumbs towards each other. If you're hyperflexible, make sure you're not pushing the elbows through. Keep the elbows facing outwards, so your elbow creases are facing each other. And you want to be one line in your shoulder, your hip, and your heels, pushing the heels back towards the back of the wall, towards the back of the room. So check if you're not pushing your bum up or hanging through here, your core is engaged and strong. And you can take one inhale here, and on the exhale, bring the knees down, chest and chin down, so the hips stay up, elbows close to the body, chest goes down, chin goes down, looking forward. On an inhale, we scoop forward, bring the belly onto the mat. And then for Cobra, I also want to give some preparation clues and alignment. So, to protect your lower back, we want to slightly tuck the tailbone in again. So the core is engaged, the lower core is engaged. You push the pubic bone into the mat, so the lower back has more room. And then to start with, you can just come into a baby cobra. So you're just lifting the sternum up, bringing the shoulders back and down, shoulder blades close to the back. And you can even lift the hands off the mat to make sure you're not pushing out of your hands. But on an exhale down. Also make sure your legs are engaged, the ankles are as close as possible together. And for the full cobra, you lift up, again protecting your lower back first, tucking the tailbone in, lifting up. Sternum wants to go up and forward. Just go as much as you can, still keep the pubic bone firmly and on the mat. Don't push through and lift your hips up. The arms might be still bent, shoulders away from the ear. You can look up, but again, don't throw your head, your neck back like that. Opening the sternum forward upwards. On an exhale, lower back down again. Tuck the toes under and core engaged, push through to downward facing dog. If this seems too intense, you can always come into tabletop first, then tuck your knees, and then downward facing dog. So for downward facing dog, we want to have the same alignment for our hands. Middle fingers parallel facing forward, and the elbow creases facing towards each other, not pointing forward. So we rotate the shoulders out and back. And then most importantly, you can bend the knees at first, but have the priority on a long back. So you want to push the seat bones and the tailbone upwards towards the ceiling, back and up, lengthening, dropping the chest down a little bit. Although, if you're hyper-flexible, make sure you're not dropping down too much, pushing too much pressure onto your shoulders. You can hold, you can hang through for a moment if you're static, but if you're coming out of the movement from Cobra, make sure you're not in the dynamic, pushing through and like really sinking down into the shoulders too much. But most people tend to rather have their shoulders up here and the back rounded. So first of all, work on having one line between the hands, the shoulders and the hips, sending the seat bones back and up, if you need to, bending the knees. For your first downward dog, you can always walk the dog if you want, bringing one heel down at a time, straightening one leg at a time, and eventually ending up pushing the heels down onto the mat and straightening the knees, but only if the back is straight. So on an exhale, shift the weight forward and place the right foot in between your hands. If you're not quite reaching, you can always wiggle the foot forward again, bring the left knee down. In another video I'm going to talk about transitions and how to make them easier, how to get the leg forward between your hands without a very loud bump or dragging it over the mat. The left foot can go flat onto the mat, and we open again into equestrian pose. You can look up, but keep the neck long. And on an exhale, tuck the toes of the left foot, step forward, meet the right foot again. And then on an inhale, you lengthen the spine first again. And on an exhale, fold forward. If you have lower back troubles, don't fold much, just stay as much as you can with a straight back, bending the knees and not going further. If your back is okay though, you can relax into the pose. So to come out of the pose, we want to be safe with our lower back again. So we slightly bend the knees, engage the core, and try to come up with a straight back. Arms overhead, inhale. On the exhale, hands down next to you. So we can also start in prayer pose or end in prayer pose, which is basically Tadasana, mountain pose, but the palms of the hands together in front of your heart. So I'm going to go through this one more time, more flowing with the breath, and then I give you more variations, lowering down through Chaturanga, for example. So on an inhale, arms up, overhead. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, come halfway up, lengthen the spine. Exhale, hands down, step the right foot back, right knee down, right foot flat. Inhale, open the chest, equestrian pose. Exhale, hands down, tuck the right toes, step back. You can have an inhale here. Exhale, knees down, chest and chin. Scoop forward. Protect the lower back. Inhale, open the chest. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale here. Exhale, step the right foot forward between the hands. Left knee down, left foot flat. Inhale, open the chest. Equestrian pose. Exhale, tuck the left toe, step forward, meet the right. Inhale, come halfway up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, slightly bend the knees, straight back, come all the way up, arms up. Exhale, hands down, front of your chest. You can always go a little bit faster, leaving out a few of the breath steps, cutting it short the more you're familiar with the sun salutations and the more you can follow your breath with the movement without stopping. So again, Tadasana or prayer pose. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, step back right away into equestrian pose, open the chest. Exhale, step back and lower down right away from plank, knees, chest and chin. Inhale, open the chest, cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, right foot forward between your hands. Left knee down, open the chest. Exhale, forward, fold right away. Inhale, come all the way up, arms up. Exhale, hands down. So this is quite a flowy, quick version. So don't do this before you don't have the alignment incorporated. Okay, so I'm going to go through the same thing again on the other side this time, but instead of the Ashtanga Namaskara, the salute with 8 points, or salute on 8 points, I'm going to do the Chaturanga, which is most of the time practiced in Ashtanga practice or Ashtanga Vinyasa or Vinyasa flow. Although I give you a few hints how to build strength before you actually do the full Chaturanga, because you can injure your joints, your shoulders, and you shouldn't do it unless you're really stable in the Ashtanga Namaskar, which is the knees, chest and chin down, and then Cobra. So on an inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway up, lengthen the spine. Exhale, left foot back, left knee down, left foot flat. Inhale, open into equestrian pose. Exhale, hands onto the mat, tuck the left toes, step back into plank. So from here we start the other version, the other variation. So far we've been doing knees down, elbows close to the body, knees, chest and chin, and then scooping forward into Cobra. And you should stick to that if you're having trouble already lowering down, and this is already quite a lot of work. So if you still tend to collapsing here, just always keep the knees down and keep practicing that. Otherwise, for the Chaturanga, the first thing, and you can do that on the inhale if you're staying here for an inhale, shifting the weight forward. So you're coming onto your toes, shifting the weight so that your shoulders are slightly coming over the wrists. And then we bend the elbows and lower down, elbows close to the body, lowering the shoulders but not more than elbow height. So if you feel like you can't hold this, or your elbows are collapsing, or if you tend to hang through with your back, if you're sticking your bum out to be able to doing this, don't do it. Just stick to knees down, lowering, building strength, and scooping forward. So once you have the strength, you can start with a Chaturanga, not quite shifting forward as much. So you stay with your heels not quite all the way pushed back, but in the middle, and then start lowering down, and leave the angle in your elbows a little bit bigger, and then knees down, scoop. So that you're not collapsing once you can't hold the strength anymore. Okay. So the plank position that you start off with is already very important, so that you're pushing the shoulders away. That gives you stability in your shoulder joint. If you're starting off like that, also don't try before you don't have the strength to keep the core engaged. And once you start doing the Chaturanga, the lowering down with the knees up,
Make sure you keep the legs engaged, the core engaged, and you don't drop down more than 90 degrees. So ideally in the textbooks it says 90-degree angle, the elbow over the wrist. But if you can't hold it, stay further up and go from there into upward facing dog, which is the next pose. If you're doing chaturanga, so you're not actually lowering down onto your belly and into cobra, but you go from chaturanga, opening the sternum forward, upward. So again, on inhale, you shift the weight forward, lower down, shoulders not lower than the elbow, and then scoop forward without touching the ground. Opening the sternum up, so the knees are off the mat, so you're engaging the thighs again. Feet are about hip width apart in this pose, not together like in cobra, but you're also trying to protect the lower back a little bit, tucking the tailbone slightly in, opening up the sternum forward, upward without pushing the lower ribs under, and again looking up, staying stable on your shoulder, don't collapse here, looking up but keeping the neck long, especially if you have neck problems, or slightly tilting back. And from there you can push back into downward facing dog, either rolling over your toes, or I tend to just flip them over, step a little bit forward and coming into downward facing dog. And from there, on an exhale, step the left foot forward between your hands, right knee down, foot flat, inhale, open into equestrian pose. Exhale, step forward, inhale, come up halfway, exhale, fold. Inhale, engage the core, come all the way up, arms up. Exhale, hands down. So next I'm going to go through Surya Namaskar A and B with you. So these are the classic two versions of an Ashtanga yoga. And yeah, so Surya Namaskar A is quite easy. It just leaves out the equestrian pose, basically. So we're going to start in the same pose, Tadasana. On an inhale, raised arm pose. Exhale, Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, halfway up, lengthen the spine. Exhale, hands down, then step back right away. Left foot forward, let's say, and then the right into plank position. Again, check your alignment, wrists underneath the shoulders, elbow creases inwards, thumbs facing each other, pushing the heels back, strong core. And then either lower down through Ashtanga Namaskar, so knees, chest and chin, and then Cobra on the inhale, or through Chaturanga, leaning forward, lowering down not more than 90 degrees, shifting the weight forward, opening up into upward facing dog, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, and then exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. On the next exhale, step the same foot that you used before, so in this case the left forward, and then the right, or take a few steps, as many as you need, to walk your feet towards the hands. Inhale, come halfway up, lengthen the spine. Exhale, Uttanasana, head relaxed. Inhale, bend the knees slightly, core engaged, come all the way up. Raised arm pose. Exhale, either prayer pose or Tadasana. So it's very simple, just don't forget to do 2 rounds as well, starting to step back with the other leg first, and then start to step forward with the other second leg as well. And then Surya Namaskar B. Starting again in Utkatasana. On an inhale, we bring the arms up and we sink back into Utkatasana chair pose. So what's important with chair pose, we don't want the knees come over our toes. That's the first thing. We want to protect our knees and ankles here. So we shift the weight back into the heels and lower down as if we want to sit down. The arms stay up as much as possible. The palms facing towards each other, the shoulders away from the ears. Opening the chest, looking straight ahead. And you can always start trying to go a little bit lower. Then we don't, what is very common, we don't want to stick the bum out like that. So again, we want to have the lower spine neutral, sending the tailbone down towards the floor. So this is on the inhale. On the exhale, we bend forward, fold, straightening legs. Inhale, lengthen the spine, come halfway up. Exhale, hands onto the mat, step back into plank. Inhale here or right away down. Exhale, either knees, chest and chin and cobra, or chaturanga and upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Inhale here. On exhale, shift the weight forward, bring the right foot between the hands, or rather closer to the inside of your right hand. Then you bring the left heel down, about 45-degree angle in your foot. Engage the core, engage the right thigh. Inhale, come all the way up, warrior one. So for the alignment of warrior one, as the hips are supposed to face forward, you want to make sure, and that's why we step the right foot closer to the right hand, that you have some room between the right and the left. If you have them in one line, which you do in warrior two, you're not going to be able to face the hips forward and you get too much pressure on your left knee. So we want to have this little distance. We want to push the outside edge of the left foot firmly into the mat to keep the knee in line with the foot. So you slightly want to rotate the left thigh outward rotation in the hip, so that this lift hip bone can still face forward, but the knee is protected. So strong left leg. For the front, we want to make sure that the right knee doesn't come over the right toes, so the right knee is stacked over the right ankle. And also, again, slightly tuck the tailbone in and keep the back straight so that you're not falling into a hollow back here. Arms up as much as you can straight, even if that means you have the arms a little bit further out. And we don't want to pull up the shoulders, we want to relax them down away from the ears. So, warrior one on this side. On an exhale, you bring the hands down onto the mat, frame the right foot, step back into plank. Again, lower down, knees, chest and chin, Ashtanga Namaskar and Cobra or Chaturanga and Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Let's move to the other side. On exhale, step the left foot forward this time. Again, closer to the left hand. Bring the right heel down, about 45-degree angle. You want to have that space between right and left. Maybe walk the left foot further out and keep both hips facing forward. Neutral spine, keeping the right leg engaged. Right outside edge of the foot is pushing into the mat, 45-degree angle on your foot. Arms up, shoulders down, warrior one. Exhale, hands down onto the mat, step back into plank, and again we go through our Chaturanga, upward facing dog, downward facing dog. Inhale here, on exhale, step forward, between your hands, left first, then right, inhale halfway up, lengthen the spine, exhale, fold, inhale, bend the knees, shift the weight into the heels, arms up, sit back into chair. Exhale, stay here, lower down a little bit more if you can. Inhale all the way up, exhale, arms down, Tadasana. So, Surya Namaskar B is obviously a little bit more complicated and longer. I'm going to do it again more flowy on the other side. So on an inhale, arms up, sink back down into chair pose, shifting the weight back, opening the chest. Exhale, lower down, fold forward. Inhale, halfway up, lengthen the spine. Exhale, hands down, step back directly into plank. Either inhale here or go directly with the same exhale, lowering down, Chaturanga, upward facing dog, or knees, chest and chin and cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale here. Exhale, step the left foot forward, closer to the left, bring the right heel down, 45-degree, come up into warrior one on an inhale. Exhale, hands down, step back into plank, lower down, Ashtanga Namaskar in Cobra, or Chaturanga in upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale here, on the exhale, right foot forward, left heel down, protect your knees, engage the left leg, come up, inhale, exhale, hands down, step back into plank, maybe right away lower down, inhale up, Exhale, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Inhale here. On the exhale, step the left foot forward, right foot forward, and then fold. If you wish, you can put a lengthening of the spine halfway up in between on the inhale. Exhaling, fold. Inhale, bend the knees, shift the weight back, sit back, chair pose. Exhale, maybe sit a little bit deeper. Inhale, come all the way up. Exhale, arms down.
So I hope you get something out of the video. I think Tadasana is one of the most important poses of the whole series, so remember that alignment well, because this pose lives in all the other poses. And otherwise, enjoy practicing the sun salutations, and if you like the video, don't forget to subscribe for my channel or follow me under Atma Yoga and Natural Health on Instagram or Facebook. Thanks for watching!